Bitch, I, wait, hold on, y'all. Let me get myself together. I'm about to crash the up. So whereas other government agencies are really like standing up for their employees and things, my agency decides to say, "Hey, the email is legitimate. Please send 5 bullet points of what you did." You know what I'm gonna send? I did my motherfucking job. That's it. I ain't sending shit else. Y'all are crazy.
Now, my drawback to this whole thing was because no one showed up when every other sector was being laid off. No one showed up when the bus driver got cut. No one showed up when the UPS drivers got cut. No one showed up when the post office is now going through their hassle. No one showed up when Red Lobster went bankrupt. No one showed up when Cisco was firing. No one showed up when Dell was firing.
How? Hold on, bro. How?
Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Guys, my name is Andre, and as usual, if you're stopping by for the first time, please consider subscribing. And while you're at it, just go ahead and smash that like button. I would really appreciate it. Also, remember to hit that post notification bell so that you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now guys, in this one, we're going to be covering a lot of these government layoffs, what it means for you, what it means for me. And I also want to give my personal take on a lot of these videos that we will be reviewing. So without further delay, let's jump right into it.
Y'all, working for the federal government these days is basically like the Hunger Games. You're just waiting to get chosen to get you up out of here. Because I was laid off from my federal position, and I mean, I don't work there anymore, so I will just say what agency it was. I was laid off from the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and then but I already knew that the layoffs were coming. After the election results and Donald Trump won that election, I was like, yeah, it's a wrap. I'm going to start looking for other jobs because I already knew that was coming. So I was laid off. A week later, I started a different position as a legal analyst in a different government job, and now that position has been rescinded as well. Yeah, I'm like, okay, at this point, I'm done with the federal government until we get a change of administration because this is crazy. So I'm going back to being a private sector mom is because A, y'all not about to keep wasting my time, and B, I'm never going to go to the office in Washington, D.C. I live in Florida.
Doing more layoffs. I come from a manufacturing background. I spent the majority of my career in manufacturing and warehousing prior to switching to the federal government. And what I don't understand is how people can be celebrating people getting laid off. And I understand that everybody has their own opinions about politics and all that other stuff. But I don't understand cheering for people to lose their jobs. Coming from a manufacturing background and living in a state that heavily relies on manufacturing, I've seen what happens when factories do mass layoffs. I've seen towns become absolutely decimated and turn into ghost towns because factories did mass layoffs and there just wasn't enough money to support the economy anymore in that area. So if you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know how many they're going to do, but if you have that many layoffs across the entire country, just think about that for a second. If layoffs at one company can decimate a town, what are layoffs nationwide going to do? Just a thought. I know, I'm not okay. I'm far from okay. I worked really hard to get to where I am, and to be treated like I am nothing and a waste. I've never felt like this from a job. And I've had some pretty shitty jobs. But I love this job. I love what I do. I enjoy it. I really do. And I don't want to lose this job. But it's killing me. Just got laid off from my federal government job. I don't know. So angry. Very angry. Frustrated. It sucks. I worked in the IRS, small business, self-employed. And now there's going to be a lot of people on unemployment. Great. Just got laid off from my federal government job. I don't know. So angry. Very angry. Frustrated. It sucks. I worked in the IRS, small business, self-employed. And now there's going to be a lot of people on unemployment. Great.
Let me just go right ahead and kick this one off with empathy. Now, at no point in time we should be celebrating anyone's loss. Now, whether you're in the government sector, whether you're in the transport sector, whether you're in service, we should never, at no point, be celebrating anyone's loss. Let me just get that out of the way as soon as we kick this video off, because I do see a lot of people rejoicing the fact that these government workers are being laid off, and I don't think that's the way to go about it, guys. I really don't think that's the way to go about it, because remember back when I was doing the videos about the Cisco guys being laid off, Dell laying off, Amazon laying off, all the massive or big tech companies were laying off at a high rate. Remember those videos, guys? Remember when I was covering the automotive industry and how they laid off a lot of these guys? Remember those videos? Now, remember when I was covering UPS and how UPS will be closing stores and have closed stores. Remember those videos, guys? Those guys are still finding it hard to survive today. And we did not make fun of those guys. We did not celebrate those guys losing their jobs.
I have a question for the private sector employees. What are you going to do when all these highly qualified government employees lose their jobs and now they come into the private sector and take your job? Fuck DEI and the initiatives that employers have when now you have to compete not only with regular people, but highly employed government employees. Because it's going to happen. These people now lose their federal jobs. They're coming into the private sector looking for jobs. So now your work search gets even more complicated because now you are competing with highly skilled professionals who otherwise was sitting working for the government, and now they're coming for your job. Good luck with your work search. Kudos.
Let's discuss how these mass federal terminations and layoffs are going to affect the job market and what that's going to mean for job seekers. So for one, you are going to have an increased number of applicants entering in private and nonprofit sectors from federal service, and it's going to make the job market extremely competitive. Now, if you are entry level or if you are, mid-level, or even executive level, this is going to impact everyone because now you have all of these senior executives and highly skilled federal employees with lots of degrees, lots of experience entering the market. I don't think people understand how rigorous federal hiring is, and most federal jobs require some form of degree. Not all of them, but most of them do. So now you have these people who are displaced out of federal service going back into private sector. Organizations and companies are going to start increasing the qualifications for applicants. And recruiters are going to start looking for more than just maybe a certificate or certification in certain career fields that once was skating by. That's not going to be the case anymore. So the next impact that you're going to see is with salary negotiations. And what I mean by that is everybody knows public sector, you make far less than you do in private sector. So I'm a GS-12. I make $90,000 a year, which is good money. But I know for the amount of money that I handle and control with M's and B's, I could be making 150 close to 2. Now, if I go into private sector and I ask for $120,000, that's good money. That's a $30,000 pay increase. Whereas you would have probably been asking for that 150 or 175 salary
the company's winning by picking me because I'm like $150 and saved them $25,000. So you see how that is going to impact, because federal workers are already making less money. So any type of pay increase is going to benefit them. And then for like consulting and those companies that have contracts with federal government, now that federal employees will be getting out of public service or public sector, they can go and work with these consulting firms because they know the ins and outs. And who do you think they're going to be more willing to hire? Somebody who already has the knowledge or somebody who they have to teach the knowledge. So we're gonna see a increased impact in competitiveness across the market. And I would love for somebody maybe to do an economic study or data analysis in like the next 6 months to see what hiring is looking like now that you have an influx of public sector workers moving into the private sector.
I just watched a video a couple of moments ago of a guy who reports the news, and he was talking about the federal employees and how they're getting laid off left and right. Just, a hostile takeover was the phrase that he used, which is probably the correct term at this point. And the comments under that video were so sickening. You have people actually celebrating that federal workers are losing their jobs. You have people literally saying things like, oh, good riddance. Oh, now I know my tax dollars are being utilized effectively. Do you? It's good because they've made millions of dollars at the taxpayer's expense. And it really got me thinking about the lack of ability to use deductive reasoning for adults. There are too many adults on this app with one brain cell, literally using one brain cell. And all they could say was, oh, we're glad that federal workers are being let go because our tax dollars are really going to be used for good this time. Well, I got news for you. If you think that, clearly, either you're thinking way too hard or you're not thinking enough. Federal workers, if they're laid off, no, they're not just going to sit at home and collect unemployment. That might be the first 1 or 2 days. But rest assured, federal workers are going to start going into these private sectors, these private corporations and companies and businesses, etc. That's where they're going to be applying for jobs next. And if you thought it was hard for you to either keep your job, get a raise, or get a new job, it has become 3 times harder now. That all of those federal employees, and still counting because Muskrat is still going through and doing more layoffs, okay? So, at this point, you had to fight to get another job, and the most you had to worry about is going up against a few thousand people. Now, triple that, quadruple that. Because if you think federal employees are not going to be going searching for employment in the private sectors, you are a fool. And I'm just going to say, even if they don't apply for jobs in the private sector, laying off individuals from certain federal government entities is dangerous in itself. I did a video the other day about the layoffs at the CDC and the NIH and how detrimental that is to public health. I know for a fact that laying off those 15,000 proposed employees, whether they are probationary or not, from the IRS is only going to impact the tax season. Rest assured, what I think might come out of it is that the IRS may even have to extend the April 15th date to accept tax returns because of it. Because they're going to be severely behind. They already had a struggling workforce. The poor people that work for the state unemployment offices, they were already short-staffed. Now they're going to be short-staffed, and they have that many more applicants that are going to be looking for benefits because they are newly unemployed. All I know is there's a special place in hell for people who wish bad on others, especially when it comes to federal employees who have been completely blindsided by the foolishness that is going on up there on that hill. I'm sorry, but wishing someone else's demise does not end well for you. My prayers to all the federal workers. I don't care what you do. My prayers to you, because it is hard out here to live. People are trying to figure out how they're going to feed their families every day.
Y'all up here complaining about them $18 eggs, but you happy that a federal employee has lost their job? Please go touch grass. And I ain't talking about no turf either. Go touch real grass, please.
No, 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 no. That is not how the private sector works. If you think you're going to come to the private sector or corporate world, especially a company that has to report to Wall Street, it's not that easy. You're going to have to perform. I understand that a lot of you guys are expert at what you do, and a lot of you guys are very well educated. But if you think that you're going to jump into the private sector or corporate America and you're just going to work, you're just going to punch a clock, you're going to get a rude awakening, because in this world, it is a competitive world. You're going to have to put up numbers daily, weekly, and monthly. So as much as you're welcome to enter the private sector or you're welcome to enter corporate America, guys, keep in mind, you're going to have to put up numbers, because just like how you'll get hired today, you'll get replaced next month. That's corporate America for you. That's private sector for you. So keep that in mind. Please don't overdo it. Now, in corporate America, these guys don't want to see that you've been working with the government for 10, 15 years. They want to see what you've done, what you've achieved, what difference you've made, how they will be able to use you as an asset. What's the reason for employing you? Why would you be an asset to that company? These are questions that will be asked. Guys, it has nothing to do with your education or the fact that you're an expert. So these are some of the things to keep in mind. It is not just, I was working with the government, I'm entitled to, or I should be ahead of the line. Just keep that in mind.
The private sector, many of you will still be able to do the same job, but as a contractor. I hate to say it, but that's just how the government works. I'm a senior level federal employee and hiring manager who accepted the deferred resignation. I had a feeling that even though the timeline was extended, as soon as the judge lifted the block, it would be cut off immediately, and that's exactly what happened. So for those of you who were on the fence, you lost your window of opportunity. Now we're finding out that last night there was a mandate sent out to release all probationary employees that affects about 200,000 employees. These jobs may go away, but the requirement for these job functions will not. And so what these government agencies are going to do, and I've already been told, is to seek contractor support in order to still complete these functions. What does that mean? If you are a federal employee who is affected or is set to be affected, get your resume ready and get information out there to notify these defense contractors that you are available, you're ready, and you come with the skill set and the knowledge that they're going to need in order to bid on these contracts. Don't panic. Don't fall into the victim mindset. Take your power back. Bet on you. I'm telling you, these defense contractors are already gearing up to fill the void that is being left by federal employees. Take your skill set and move over to the private sector. Many of you will still be able to do the same job, but as a contractor. I hate to say it, but that's just how the government works.
Now, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Please. But since this whole layoff has started, I realize that a lot of the mainstream media, also podcasts, also daytime show, have been covering this. And something is telling me that when it comes to the layoff for the government workers, the energy was a lot different from when a lot of these stores were going bankrupt. For example, Yellow went bankrupt. A lot of these guys lost their pension or have been fighting for their pension, but it was a 1 week cover. We only read about it for a week, or we only saw it for a week. How about when Bath, Bed and Beyond went bankrupt? How about when Red Lobster went bankrupt? What about the automotive industry, guys? Remember when they were all losing their jobs after that pay increase? Now, take a look at the post office, for example. These guys are in trouble today, but no one is talking about them. Everyone has been focusing on the government, and I get it, and I get it. These guys are important. I get it.
In any company, when the company is overspending and is in debt, they have to slash costs. This is where layoffs happen. I am really confused at why we as Americans don't understand that's what's happening with the federal government and the thousands of people who are losing their jobs with the federal government. No one likes layoffs, but we are talking about the same employees that they beg to come back to work after the C word. And you absolutely refused. You didn't want to come back to work. You wanted to protest about coming back to work. You wanted to talk about how unfair it was to go back into the office when the government's paying millions of dollars a year for that. We are literally spending, I want to say 21, we spent $2.4 billion for immigrants. 2022, we spent 3.4. 23, we spent over $10 billion on immigrants. Last year, it did drop to just under $5 billion on illegal immigrants. You guys don't want to come back to work. It's too many of you. It's not as many employees as needed. We are overspending as a country. So when you were protesting, when you were upset about us wanting to get rid of illegal immigrants and close the borders, you didn't realize that your country that you worked for, the money was leaving. The money has to come from somewhere. And so therefore, all this overspending, about billions have happened. And now as federal employees, we have to start slashing because the country, we don't have any money. We don't have any money. You guys got to be in debt in real life, in your real life, because you keep wanting to overspend. I get it. It's going to be hard on those people who lose their job. But over 2 million people were offered a buyout and only 75,000 accepted it. I don't know who needs to hear this, but when buyouts are offered, it's because you're going to get out of there anyway. Your best bet is to take the buyout because you're leaving anyway. It's happening. We're cutting costs. We as a country are in trouble, and you would rather us running in the red than accept the fact that a few will have to suffer because of the actions that the administration that we just came out of put us in. They put us in situations that forced the hand. Or do you want us to keep creating more debt and more issues? I have so much empathy for the people who are losing their job. As an entrepreneur, I've been feeling it for a few years now with the other administration. I know what it's like to feel like, oh my goodness, what is happening? But the reality is, as a country, we can't afford it. And we have to, you need to downsize when the money is not there. You have to downsize. So keep your little protests, get over it.
Now, in closing, I will say, I do feel your pain. I do see what's happening. I understand what's happening. But keep in mind, we're all getting shakedown, guys. In the private sector, we are getting shakedown. In corporate America, we are getting shakedown. Which leads me to my next point. If you feel like coming over to the private sector or coming over to corporate America, please expect to work hard. Please expect to put up good numbers, because over here, it's a whole new different ball game. Now, I understand that a lot of you are smart, and I do understand that a lot of you have a lot of experience, but these companies want to drive revenue. These companies want to see where you will be an asset to them. It's a whole new ball game. But again, if you feel like coming, please, you're welcome. Also, I want to say, just the same way you expect us to rally around you, you could have rallied around for us when we were losing our jobs. When we were losing our jobs in the tech industry. When we were losing our jobs in the logistic industry. So please understand this, guys, that you're not the only one going through a shakedown. We are all going through a shakedown. So please, please just understand that. Now, once again, guys, we have come to the end of another great video. If you found value in this one, please go ahead, subscribe, like, or share. Or better yet, if you know someone that might find value in this video, please go ahead and share. But you know you won't get all your information from this one video. So please go ahead and click on this one right here. And now you'll have access to the financial market, the financial news, current affairs, and my journey towards financial freedom. Now, guys, be safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.